Good.
Yeah, I got one. What are you talking about? Right here.
I just saw the energy one. I knew they went out together. That's the only reason.
Oh, they're fine.
Andrew, do you have one?
Yes.
Everybody has one.
Okay. That's right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, we can start again. On the total expenditure cover sheet that you have has lists all the schools there.
Michael, we're good.
No,
Oh, we need one.
Here, one,
just two.
two.
You guys have it.
Okay,
Sorry,
yeah, that's not right.
That's right.
Two copies going.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, we do this every year. We send this to City Hall as part of the city charter with a letter to the mayor saying that this is the approved capital plan for 15-16. And basically what it is, it's a carryover from last year when the capital plan was approved by the Board of Finance. The difference on your total expenditure by year cover sheet there is I put Southeast School back in there because that was actually removed from the original plan that we gave them. We approved Southeast School. For them to approve it, they did not approve it, so I just slid those monies over into 15-16. Plan as you see it has not changed otherwise from what you approved last year, other than that Southeast. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. I'll give you a quick summary also. Normally we'll take this plan and when we do our budget process, we pare it out and prioritize it, try to give you a more realistic plan that doesn't have $49 million in it, unless that's what the board wants to accept. East School, renovated as new, has, as you can see, has been in there. Pared down from the $70 million that we had in there last year, because we decided that we weren't going to do the expansion on the hill. More or less just renovated as new. So I can
What this
answer any
process
questions.
is the city, before we formulate our budget, before we even start our budget process, we are required to give this to them by December 31st, by charter. Then we go through this all over again in the spring as we are developing our final budget to submit to the city of capital and operating expenses. So a lot of times projects will get slid, numbers will get adjusted. It's really a formality to meet city charter that we submit this. But then, as Dave said, is we'll go through our budget and we'll know our numbers are way too high for them never to accept. Projects will get slid, projects will get pared down, spread out over years. So we'll see this again as we go forward. So,
No, that's fine.
anyone have any questions on that? Yes.
I have a comment and a question. The comment is, like I say every year, I think this is a snapshot that should be realistic, prudently thought out by the board and sent to the city. I don't really agree with your assertion that we're just doing a formality. If we don't realistically believe any of these numbers are doable for the upcoming budget year, and I think we should discuss them now and eliminate them. It's one thing to, over the
If I
process.
just interrupt you, that's exactly what we're doing. It's time to discuss, if you want
Well,
to discuss.
your comment
removing
was
something.
kind of like this was a formality, but it's
Well,
not.
it's a formality that gets changed every year, because as we finalize the budget and we say, wow, we just can't possibly go forward at $49 million, we'll say, and the mayor or city council or board of finance will make a suggestion that bonding becomes available in 17, 18, then we have to make a decision of, we don't have the bonding right now, we're gonna have to move that project down. But we don't have that information, and we won't get it until they tell us. So I'm saying that it's a number we put together of projects that Dave feels he needs, but inevitably, we end up having to pare them down because the number's too large. I mean, it hasn't been a year gone by, Andrew, that this number hasn't been pared down.
Yeah, and it's not a year that goes by that I don't really approve the way we analyze. I think, I'm not saying good or bad, I'm just saying that from my perspective, I think we should be much more thoughtful during the year to whether or not any of these things are realistic and need to be done in the fiscal year. That's why these things are really 5-year thought processes. So this one here, for example, the school renovation is new. When was that first put on to the capital improvement plan? 3 years ago?
3 years ago.
So we've had 3 years to analyze this if we did do a prudent analysis of whether or not we were going to go forward with this. And by now, we should have some definitive answers of whether or not this is realistically doable for the 15-16 year, and what the city is projecting back to us in some type of dialogue if they're viewing this as doable for the 15-16 year. That's all I'm saying as far as our discussion. I'm not saying that or anything's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's how I view this discussion to go forward.
Okay, you have a question?
Okay, then the next question is, as far as East School renovated as new, when we originally talked about that, we were basing renovating the school for 360 students. Now we're going to add another 100 students. So how does that affect the analysis of renovating the school?
I think we're going to try to put the extra 100 students into the existing school as it is, so I don't see, I'm not sure if I can follow the question. I think if we renovate it as new, I'm assuming we're going to have the same amount of classrooms, unless we do a little bit of a remodeling or something, and we're going to add classrooms. Otherwise, we're going to have the same school that we have with some updated equipment. If I'm not mistaken, renovated.
Mr. Chairman, adding 25% more students to that building, does that alter your thought process of what you perceive as the bringing forth a school for the next 25, 30 years, or whatever the life expectancy of that new school is? Now that you'll have 25 more students, does that affect how you view whether or not you want to look at renovating as new or projecting out to maybe analyzing whether or not that's a doable future for that school building?
If they can fit the kids in the building as it is, then I would say a renovate as new fits in that building.
And I would say that the more kids you add, the higher the reimbursement rate from the state will be, providing you can fit them in there.
Correct.
So you'll get more money back from the state, the more children that you have there. So
Except that I thought that when we were actually looking at how the school renovation was going to take place, there were space issues that we had talked about a year ago.
That was
And
to add,
I think we're adding
29 first floor classrooms.
Right, we were adding kindergarten space there, if you remember, and we had brought in a few renderings, and that plan really didn't work because we were ending up with like
And how many more
25-foot retaining walls.
And how many more students was the kindergarten going to increase the school?
We were adding all-day kindergarten for the entire district there, if I'm not
Okay, and
mistaken.
how many more students was that going to be to the? Total student
This
population.
year was 355.
So we were gonna double that school in size?
Pretty much.
With the site challenge of all kindergartens had to be on the first floor. So that meant 29 first floor classrooms, which we only have 13 currently. So that was the big site challenge, and that was why it was a $71 million project. It was the 40-foot, 45-foot high retaining walls and the no way to get buses in and out. It just, as the project was evolving, it just became unbuildable.
When that school was designed, was the design feature of that school for 350 students, 450? I mean, the high school here, wasn't it designed for
I would have
2,000?
to check the capacity on it there. I do have paperwork on it in my office, I can answer that.
And then going forward on Southeast School, where did we leave that as a board tonight?
We left 8 saying that they want to continue to look into it, but no one willing to commit money to it at this point.
And how do you fit that into whether or not we want to, as of tonight, put this snapshot together, picture of what we want to do for capital improvement? Do we want to say, being that there is board questioning of what we're going to do with Southeast School, do we want to keep it on the capital improvement or delete it?
That's a decision for the board.
What's that?
That's a decision for the board. I mean, what do we want to do? Do we want to keep it as a placeholder, or do we want to take it up?
Well, maybe the question needs to be asked, is it, how realistic is it that our concerns and our, based on what the superintendent heard from the board tonight, do you feel that that's realistic, that we can go forward next year and do Southeast School as you explain the project to be?
Why? Or-
No, this is to you. I mean, how do you feel realistically that this can be doable now going forward for 15, 16 for Southeast School?
Both schools, depending on which avenue we're going to take, if we don't look to begin some kind of plan with East School, we have to look at some major renovations that we would have to have within capital. The best, if we're going to do anything to any building, the most efficient and the most cost-effective way would be to go through a state construction grant, because we got the 72% reimbursement, okay, on whatever. So what we were trying to do with Southeast, which I really kind of like gave up trying to explain, but it's in your handout tonight, was that we applied for several grants that would, or funding that we have that have been reimbursements that would help offset the cost for Southeast, because it was a smaller structure and, you know, because of our, as I said, of some other challenges that I included tonight in the presentation. It's the
local share.
right, yeah, to always reduce, to get it down as low as we can. You know, I serve at the pleasure of the board. So if you say we're more interested in renovating East as new, then that will be the focus that we will go. If you say take Southeast off of here, so be it. I'll do whatever the board asks me to do.
And Paul, my biggest question is, how tight is Southeast with East School? I.e., if you do Southeast School and not decide to do East School, are we doing one that needs to have the other complemented? Or can Southeast School stand on its own, so if we never renovate, or years down the road, East School gets renovated, they're not tied together? That's why I was asking about the big picture.
Mr. Traub tonight said, you know, renovate Southeast, and then it can serve as part of where we put the children from East as we renovate East. Okay, so that's a given, would be a lot cheaper than portables, or at least the number of portables that we're going to have, you know, we're gonna need if we renovated East School. Then at the end of it, you could then look at moving in your special ed and early childhood, because one of the things that they're looking at the state for this year is mandating, you know, 4-year-olds for schooling, your universal preschool. So that's, you know, again, why do I look at the things that I look at? Because I try to project what's coming down from the state and what will be mandates for us. And if we can be proactive, then it won't be such a burden, or we're not, you know, just doing a knee-jerk reaction to what comes down the pike. So we are limited on space in this district. There's given extra programs. You know, we've tried to bring children with special needs back into the district to reduce our special education costs. That takes up room. It's like the special education program I talked about earlier at East School. You know, why do we only have 4 or 5 children in the classroom? Because based upon their needs, that's as big as number of children we can have. So, you know, and I guess it comes down to what is the board's priority.
And I'll start off the ball. I would like to go forward with the capital improvement as far as Southeast, and I would like to eliminate East School from the capital improvement, because I think we need, as a board, to vent a lot more new information and try to place East School renovation for 16-17. That would be my...
So you want to remove it, or you want to move it?
No,
to
I would just like to
16-17?
push it off to 16-17, and hopefully we'll get Southeast School accomplished in 15-16, and this will give us a full year as a board to vent not only what originally was discussed as far as how we would renovate East School, but also take into consideration that you have come up with now a new concept of moving 100 kids from one part of the town to another part of the town. So I'd like to have more time.
Dave, is that 26 classrooms? 29 rooms altogether.
26 classes.
That means 17.73 kids per classroom with the additional 100 students.
I understand. I'm just saying it.
You generally judge for 25 kids in a classroom as the contract. You're building a school. You cannot build a school for projected enrollment.
Okay.
You get no funding for projected enrollment. You only get actual. The state, in their reimbursement, does not allow you to plan for future developments. Even if there's 100 house developments started next to the school, you can only build for the number of kids in that school. The city has to pick up the burden for the additional kids. We learned that story.
That's just my proposal.
Bill, do you have any proposals on this? Thoughts?
I'm more interested in the Southeast School project because it may alleviate the non-compliance problem with special needs children. And as you said earlier, when the time comes, if we renovate East School, we can use that as a temporary school.
Is there any harm in leaving it the way that it sits now? Or are we better served to shift things around? It doesn't make a difference.
There's no harm in it, because as last year, the city council took our capital plan and went, we're not funding that. There was no explanation given other than they said, take it out. So, it doesn't hurt you, it doesn't help you. I mean, everybody at City Hall knows that East School's coming. We've been talking about it for years. We gave several presentations last year, and we kept, $71 million deal was by a prior mayor that asked us to fit everything on that one site and only work on one school. And then when we came up with the price tag, everybody went down. So then it started getting chopped down.
If Southeast School was put forward first, like Andrew suggested, if part of the benefit of that is as instead of the portable classroom, in lieu of some of them, would that make it more likely that we would gain approval for East in the following year?
I would think it's a good selling point.
Because if you approve them both at the same time, then you can't use Southeast realistically at that time. Then I would say move this forward.
Torn. I would say leave both of them in, but the other half says move East School out 1 year to give Southeast as your stepping stone, but then that automatically says that we just eliminate what we did prior. Because now you're kind of putting Southeast in a path, one path, by doing it that way. Overall, based on the numbers, since we can't afford all the functions, I would say move East to next year and move Southeast as your stepping stone.
I would agree
I can understand the logic behind it, so I guess I'll agree with it. The only question is, once you finish the building, does that mean you're now gonna leave it sit empty and not being utilized until you get the approval for each school? Because otherwise, you're utilizing the building, getting it staffed with kids, and you're gonna displace the students and staff that you now have in the building to move the kids from each school in.
You'd have to do that.
Exactly. So you're gonna renovate a building to leave empty for when you renovate each school, to move the kids there, to then, once they leave, decide what you're gonna do with the building.
But it's still
I'm-
cheaper than renting portables.
Well, I understand, I understand, I'm just putting the logic together and,
Well, it'll take a year to renovate anyways.
Right.
So,
I think in the
Yeah.
meantime, we should have a plan on what to do with the gap.
I'm just saying.
Which I think comes with the other information that we want from the superintendent about that plan.
Exactly, I was just saying, okay, as long as we know we're renovating it, to leave it empty until we get the approval for each school to transfer kids over, it makes sense to do it that way.
But I think by the time they're done renovating East School, or the Southeast School, you're ready to move East School. I don't think there's gonna be that year.
I'm hoping, but I'm not sure. Looking at, because when we started the East School project before, we were looking at the city's bonding ability. And one of the reasons why it was being moved into the year it was the fact that we had bonding coming off from former projects. But in this past election cycle in November, we just did a $52 million bond for referendum for the water treatment facility, sewer upgrades.
Yep, sewer treatment.
So
upgrade.
I'm not sure if that ate up all the bonding that had come off the books. So the East School project may not have enough bonding left. That's the piece I don't know that I'm waiting to hear from city council. As I'm assuming.
Didn't they just retire some debt?
Well, that's why we were looking at it for
Refunding the
this
bonds?
year.
Yeah.
But the sewer project wasn't originally on until they found the crack. So that was $52 million that wasn't supposed to be on. That just came up in the last year. That 3 years ago wasn't known.
That and the mandated upgrades from the state for contaminant levels.
Oh, what's a little fertilizer?
to make your hair grow.
Keeping it the way it is, we'll keep our options open. We can always pull something out between now and March, and I'm sure we will.
Are there any other items that we'd like to talk about on the capital plan, other than the east and southeast? Everybody's happy with the rest of it?
Right. Do you have something, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Is there something that you would like to talk about?
Well, I'm with John. I'd leave it on there, and I would see where everything falls, and we're gonna have to balance our budget when we move forward and see mean, all of these repairs are important. You know, I ran on a platform 4 years ago with Frank Rubino, and I ran on it again last year, that we have let the buildings in this district go to hell. I mean, for years, they slashed capital down to $100 grand, a couple $100,000. Couldn't even buy enough detergent to clean the buildings, let alone do any maintenance. And a problem, the reason we're in this situation is because prior boards did that. And now we have buildings that are in serious need of repair, and every year we push it out, and say, well, we can't do it. And, you know, we'll be like everybody else. It'll take a catastrophe to get us to do something that we should have done just looking at it.
And pushing East School out means that when we need to fix another building, we're
Yep.
only gonna hear, oh, you just did East School 4 years ago.
Absolutely, and the bonding will be just pushed that much further out. The bonding is gone. They used to. There is no bonding available. They're gonna have to seek more bonding, and that's just the way it is. Whether we do it this year, next year, or any time over the next 8 years, they're gonna have to go out for additional bonding.
The one thing that's good is the reimbursement rate.
Which
We're-
is-
We're sitting at about the
Right,
highest
which is
reimbursement
only
rate.
gonna go down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Stay where you are, Dave. Energy efficiency. That budget.
Okay.
Just handed out a new energy efficiency. No, you go ahead.
Everybody got one of these?
Now, just the people with budget got it.
I've only got, I only got one copy left, so I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't write it mine, if anybody wants to see it.
I'll make some. Okay. Well, while he's making copies, you can ask questions, I guess. What we're proposing is, this is the third building that we're going for some new energy efficiency operation. And what we're doing with this particular building is Vogel Wetmore Elementary School. We're doing a lighting upgrade with 100% LED lighting in this building. We're doing a boiler room upgrade also with 2 new German Wiesmann boilers, with some new VFD boxes to start controlling them a little bit. Certain controls around the building will be improved, pumps will be improved, insulation will be improved in the boiler room. So this program runs parallel to the other programs that we did at the Torrington Middle School and the Forbes Elementary School, as far as how we did our lighting, how we did some upgrades to chillers and operations at the building. We originally budgeted $550,000 for this project. Project cost came in at a $445,421 price tag. The CL&P energy efficiency incentive that will be returned to us for doing these upgrades is $90,681, bringing the total investment down to $354,740. In simple payback, it's 12.5 years. And what it will do, it will reduce our total wattage, kilowatts saved, will be an annual savings of $28,393 annually. The cost of what we're facing right now with electricity costs, as everybody's seeing, the gas prices look great, but electricity is going the other way for some reason, and no one can explain it. So, storm damage,
This
capacities.
$555,000 is in this year's, current year's budget.
Correct.
It's to be done this year. The money's approved for it. Next Gen was our supplier. Next Gen got out of the business. They're no longer doing this. This is a company that is similar to Next Gen that offers the consulting and services as Next Gen did. So essentially, Dave's looking to switch to a different provider and save roughly $150,000. 200,000.
Almost 200,000. 300,000 once you get the incentive back.
Right.
So it's a good program, it's state approved. Most of these contractors have to go through the state to be approved to be on the list, that's how we get them. And it's a good program.
Did you say that about the last provider?
I did, and they were very good. And they still stand behind their product. They're very good, even though they're not, they were upfront with us. They gave us the initial quotes, and in fact, the incentives are a little bit better on these because we're doing the LED lighting complete. But they were very upfront, saying that they really, you know, we're going to work with you a little bit here, but the company is undergoing a lot of changes. They lost a lot of their engineers and everything, so they got out of this type of work, and they're specializing in control work now. But they're still they were still a very good company. I had no problems with them. So what I'm looking for here is approval by the board so I can proceed forward.
Any other questions?
Okay, you said the money was initially budgeted?
Yes, we have $555,000 in this year's budget, and this will cost us $360,000 after incentives.
Right.
What we did in the past years, like with the middle school, is as we got the incentives back, then we went and did LED lighting, and then when we got those incentives back, we went to another school and did LED. We kind of just ran the reimbursement till it was gone. And this would give us $200,000 to continue the process of getting us more energy efficient throughout the district.
Exactly.
In this year's budget.
Part of our, part of the incentive that we got, even at the middle school, for instance, was a $453,000 incentive on that project. It was a big project, but I mean those numbers are, you can't pass those numbers by. You know, they're offering it. We don't hit this this fund that often, and now we finally got our groove, and I think we should really keep going.
Yep.
And I believe your reduction is 64% in energy usage?
Yes.
So, and on a building that should last for at least 40 more years.
All right. Moving into action items. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Approval of the financial statements as discussed earlier.
Second.
And discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Okay, consent agenda. Ellen. Second, Leona. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous. Now, we had an overwhelming, lost my page. Two people that want to keep it the way it is, and there are 8 people that want to see East School moved to the 16-17 school year. So we're up to the capital budget. Somebody want to make a motion to approve the budget with East School moved to 16-17, or does someone want to make a motion to present it as is?
I'll make a motion to move East School to 16-17. And keep the.
Did you have your hand up?
In a second. I had my hand up to make the other motion. Andrew beat me to
Okay. Are you seconding his?
it. No.
Do I have a second to Andrew's motion?
I'll second.
Jim? Any discussion? All those in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. We're dead. Can we get another motion on the capital budget?
What, what's that one?
It's 5-5?
Real? How could it be 5-5?
There's 10 of us.
Oh, I thought, okay.
Well, I'll see what happens. I'll move to present it the way it was presented to us.
Okay, John, do I have a second for that one?
Second.
Bill? Discussion?
same thing before, if we move it out too far, we won't be able to renovate another building when we need to.
All those in favor? We got 6. Opposed? 1, 2, 3 opposed. 7. Opposed was Andrew, Jess, and Jeff. You want to call it Jess? Jess?
Yes.
Jess. I just assumed that. I apologize. All right. Okay, the energy contract. Helen, Bill, discussion. In favor? Unanimous. 3 budget transfers that we discussed. Fiona, Helen, discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? 1 opposed, Mr. Mayor. Okay, comments for the good of the order. John, we'll start with you.
It was the week before Christmas, and we've been here since 5 o'clock. The agenda was far too long for any meeting to make intelligent decisions, and there's just... Another thing I have to say is, I was talking to somebody from Thompson Heights who was very happy. The little kids from Southwest School walked across the street and sang a few Christmas carols and had a nice little time with the people. They really enjoyed it.
Dan? Fiona? Helen? Jim? Yes? Bill? Andrew?
I'm thinking a lot, but I have nothing to say.
I'd just like to add for the people that came out and shoveled so we could have our Thanksgiving Day football game, I'd like to congratulate them for all their hard work. I'd like to apologize for all the misunderstandings. I was the guy taking the pictures they referenced in the article. I'll admit it. I didn't know it was against the law to take pictures. But it was good that they did it. It was, you know, we had a game, no harm, no foul, everybody moved on. Committee reports, budget. We met, we discussed everything tonight. We're going to meet again. Grievance.
Grievance has been busy. We've got multiples going with 1579. As they proceed.
Personnel.
No meeting?
No meeting. Policy.
Well, we're discussing field trips and administration medication. Technology use in the classroom came back to us. Policy on outdoor use of facilities. And a new one tonight, emergency lunchroom. So we're going to be busy.
Okay, school improvement we haven't had for a while. THS oversight panel.
I went to the Student Governance Council and PTO meetings, and those organizations are functioning. PTO can use new members, but that's...
Turf committee.
We've had no meetings, but I'd like to ask the chairman to somehow expedite finding out when the school district is actually legally in possession of the field. It's our responsibility what we're doing.
You saw the email, right?
I saw your, have you
They have
got
not
an
answered.
answer?
No, they have not answered me back yet. I asked.
Okay.
If we kind of use them in
It'd be helpful. Maintenance, budget.
Helpful for all committees.
All right. Items for upcoming agenda, financial statements, committee reports, out-of-district tuition, transportation, we did. Subcommittee assignments we'll have for the next one now that Jim is here to fill out our wonderful band of misfits. Future meetings. Policy is Wednesday the 7th at 6. Personnel is the 14th at 6. Budget is the 14th at 7. And the regular board meeting will be the 21st at 6. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, Dan, all those in favor? Let's go home.